And we're live. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Samantha Salmon, National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. And tonight we are joined by Raw Chef Yin. We're talking to her. She's a renowned raw vegan chef, educator, best-selling author, and TEDx speaker about how to make healthy eating fun, flavorful, and sustainable without feeling like you're on a diet, right? So welcome, Raw Chef Yin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Samantha. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. And of course, we are here to talk about this exclusive bundle packed with so many resources from plant-based
It's
influencers.
officially here.
There's a nice little promo video on the site, and you'll see there's if you have any questions, the frequently asked questions, all of these resources you get close to $6,000 worth of value for just $49. And the last day to take advantage of this is March 10th. So you definitely want to get it. And there is the Korean barbecue course by Raw Chef Yin. So we'll be able to talk to her about that today. For those of you who are joining us live, make sure to put your questions in the comments below so we could get your questions asked. This Korean barbecue party online course, I would love for you to tell me a little bit about what inspired you to create this.
Oh, that's quite interesting because actually, my I was okay. So this is how it actually happened from the very beginning. One of our other raw friends, Songju, I think she's known by the bear with girl, or the girl with bear. Anyway, she was on Chef AJ's show, and she's Korean, and someone asked her whether she could make raw vegan Korean barbecue. And she said she has never done that, but she thinks that Raw Chef Yin could make it. And then Chef AJ wrote to me and said, like, can you make Korean barbecue? Can you do that on my next show? So I was like, I could. There's a lot of components to it, so it's going to be a lot of work, but I could try. So I made it, and then it was super delicious. I had a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, I demonstrated some, and then after that, I decided to turn the whole thing into a course, and then added in more, more components as well. So you have the Korean barbecue usually has a meat, and then it has sauces, and then it has side dishes as well. It has the banchan. So yeah, I developed recipes for all that because I focus on making Asian raw vegan food because so I went to Matthew Kenny Culinary Academy, and so I learned the techniques on making raw vegan food. But it was usually more for Western style food, so like more like brownies and kale chips and Alfredo sauce and things like that. But because I'm Malaysian and I'm of Chinese descent, so I love my Asian flavors, and I find that there are not that many, raw vegan Asian cookbooks out there. So I'm very passionate about creating Asian recipes. So
Yeah.
the Korean barbecue one was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and barbecue and raw, not many people feel like you could put that together. So I think this is a really interesting spin. And it's interesting you mentioned that there's not many. At the beginning of my raw journey, back in 2008, Annie Fio's cookbooks were like one of the first books that I got my feet wet in, all the
Yeah.
different ways that you can make raw cuisine. And yeah, so, it's been
Oh,
at
I love.
the
Yeah.
Yes, I think she's probably one of the trailblazers. People don't really talk about her too much now. I'm not sure what's going on with her now, but her
Oh, I don't think
books.
she's vegan anymore. That's why.
Oh, is that why?
She just
That's really
announced like
interesting.
yeah, because I was like, what happened to her? Because you're right. I have one of her cookbooks. Yeah, so she was one of the very few that did like raw
Yeah, and
vegan
she had a
Asian food.
few. Yeah.
Yeah, and she also had desserts and all that. But I have the one with Asian one. But yeah, recently came up on Instagram saying she started introducing some animal products into her diet
Wow.
as well. So I guess
Interesting.
that's why we haven't heard from her.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like I've said before in the past, because there's been like another person that comes to mind is Megan Elizabeth, right? And she's had some great recipes that have helped me that I still love and enjoy. So even though like all these folks that have contributed to the space with recipes, I think their pieces of work are really, really valuable. Like your course is super valuable just to show people what is available, what you can do with like fruits, vegetables, actual like raw, whole, nutrient dense, enzyme rich foods, so folks don't feel like they're so limited, because many people think that healthy eating is boring and unsustainable. They think, especially with raw, that it's just they're limited to salads all the time. Have you
Yeah.
ever felt like this, like in the beginning of your journey?
I think in the beginning, it's quite funny. In the beginning, when I first started, I did not even like salads. So, which is why I kept making, a lot of raw vegan gourmet food. And also because I tried to make a lot of my favorite dishes that I used to eat when I was cook, my favorite Asian dishes, my favorite Malaysian dishes, so I started developing like raw vegan dim sum, yeah, dim sum recipes, raw vegan Thai recipes, and the Thai recipes are beyond pad Thai because I think everybody just makes raw vegan pad
Yeah.
Thai, but nothing else. So I
Yeah.
made like raw vegan tom yum or raw vegan fish cakes, that kind of thing. So yeah, when I first started, I wasn't a huge salad person, although now I am. I think I go through different phases, but yeah, I think what I like to show people is like, because people always have this perception that raw is just salad and smoothies, and I was like, no, you can make so much more things with it. I mean, in the bundle there's recipes by Lisa and Nate on how to make tacos and nachos, and Swedish meatballs and chili garlic noodles. Yeah. So,
Yeah, when you mention things like dim sum, though, that seems really time intensive. So, like, what kind of, how do you manage that with Raw Gourmet?
um, yeah, it does take a little bit more time, but I think if for planning or, maybe you can set aside your weekend to make it. And a lot of things can be frozen as well. So, to put the components together, then it's easier. I mean, like, I was trying to look in my fridge. So I made the orange burgers from Kate Dumas ebook, Raw Vegan Mama. She has a raw vegan lunchbox ebook in the bundle.
Okay.
And I made these. So and I made them small size because I'm hosting the Raw Food Worldwide meetup this Sunday. So I've just frozen them, and then so I think on Sunday morning or Saturday I'll take them out of the freezer, and then I'll put them into the dehydrator to just get it back up to the right texture and temperature, and then I can serve it at the meetup because yeah, I'm quite excited. I'm going to make that. I made the Polish sauerkraut, Polish style sauerkraut as well in Daria's ebook. I think Your Emotional Belly Cure, and that's raw vegan as well. So it's quite cool because the bundle is right smack in the middle of this time. So now I can try out the raw recipes and then bring it to the meetup this Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, perfect timing. Just like in my community, we're starting Raw for Lent tomorrow. So that's a great point that you mentioned. All of these raw recipes that are in the vegan health bundle. And if you're interested in maybe doing high raw, you're not yet ready to do 100% raw, there's also some cooked whole food vegan recipes in there as well. So I love this because basically what you're talking about is a lot of planning and intentionality. Because when you say you froze the burgers, I'm glad you explained that you're dehydrating them next. Because when you freeze
Yeah.
them, it tends to like gain a lot of water, once you freeze food. But if you're dehydrating, you're basically pulling that water out and you get that more rubbery, meaty texture and consistency that you're looking for. So that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
total sense. So you emphasize variety in your approach, like all the different foods that you're using in your course? You know, what are some like underrated vegetables, fruits, herbs, and spices that can instantly make meals more exciting that you feel like most people are just not paying attention to and could be such a game changer for them?
I think number one, when you stop using oil, so you need have more flavor. So you need to raise the level of spices. I think because in cooked food you might just put a bit, or like in regular cooking, I suppose, or what people usually cook, right? They just put a little tiny bit of spices. So I think for raw food you most probably need to like up it a bit more. Sometimes people are like, oh, why are you using like a whole tablespoon of oregano or something? And I was like, oh yeah, because this is going to be raw, and I don't have the oil to help carry the flavors, and I don't have the heat to bring out the flavors as well. So yeah, I do that. And then I think what I do is I shop at different places to get my groceries. I have a staple online grocery delivery service where I just get all my lettuce and all that. But then whenever wherever I'm out or I'm at like a grocery store, I will also try and see like what they have, what's available, what is something that I've never tried before. And then we have what here we call the wet markets, which I guess is like the traditional markets, which is like there's no air conditioning, and so everything is fresh. So yeah, there I also just kind of like look out to see what I can use. So that will be like more local vegetables that you will get in Malaysia, but you most probably won't be able to get, maybe where you are. But because there's so much, and I like to study. I have bought at least two books about what are all the local vegetables here in Malaysia and the medicinal values and the benefits and all that, because we live in a tropical country and there's so much rain and there's so much sunshine, and there's so much amazing plants that we have over here that a lot of people are not aware of. So I like to do that as well. And I think like some of the raw foodies, who did I speak to? I remember someone. She was Rennie. She's not in the bundle this time, but Rennie, she was talking about, foraging and looking for wild greens and all that. So I try to do that whenever I can. Yeah.
I see. Cool. So you keep it fun and interesting and adventurous. Yeah. So thank you guys, those of you joining us live. Make sure you put your questions for Raw Chef Yin in the comment box below. She is the expert on raw gourmet uncooking, and she has an amazing Korean barbecue online course, Korean barbecue party, it's called, online course, in the bundle, and completely raw. So it's a really fun, exciting, interesting thing. One of the things that I like about it is that you are incorporating a lot of healthy foods for the gut microbiome. I saw kimchi. I saw some seaweeds on there, great for thyroid health. So it's just a lot of versatility and variety and some different flavors. I think for any and everyone who's ever told me, I get bored eating the same thing all the time, like, I think your entire course is the answer. It's something new. Most people have not experienced raw Korean barbecue, so I think this will be a really fun, interesting experimentation for a lot of us. So you've created like so many different incredible raw vegan recipes. What are your like 2 to 3 simple ones that maybe beginners can start with to bring more flavor and fun into their meals?
I think some time ago, let me see, simple. My recipes are usually a bit more complicated because I feel like the simple ones I'll leave it to people who do it online. Yeah, and yeah. But I know I have like kind of like a flax cracker recipe, which is this was in my raw vegan Indonesian course, I think, which is not super difficult. But even in my Korean barbecue course, I think the cucumber kimchi is quite straightforward because I think it just needs a few ingredients. I'm not referring to it now, but I think off the top of my head, it's like, cucumbers, a bit of salt. You do need the Korean chili flakes, the gochugaru. And then I think there's a bit of red onions as well. So I think
Okay.
that's quite straightforward. Yeah, and that one doesn't really need a lot of fermentation. I think you can just put it in the fridge and let it ferment for a bit. Or you can actually eat it immediately as well. Yeah. And
Oh,
I think
cool.
there's also like a spring onion salad in that course as well, which is, or is it green onion salad? I think that's also quite straightforward as well, and not that many ingredients. Yeah. Actually, personally nowadays, every day I just keep it simple. I just have for my just food, I just have a green smoothie for breakfast. And then I have a big salad for lunch. I know most raw foodies say do your salad at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, I'm too tired to make salad. So, and
Yeah.
then and then for dinner, I just have a variety of fruit. At one point, I used to do mono meals. Then yeah, but then I found like I think I sometimes get a bit bloated or something. Then I mixed it up. So I usually have like three different kinds of fruits, maybe like some jackfruit and then some grapefruit and chiku, which I think is also known as sapodilla. So I think something usually like three different kinds of fruits or something local or guava. Yeah, so for my dinners are actually really simple, but I love eating fruit because it's so refreshing, it's so sweet, it's so juicy. So I make sure, and I actually aim to eat 1 pound of greens every day. So that comes in the form of my green smoothie in the morning and my big giant salad for lunch.
Yes, we've been talking a lot about this, and a lot of folks feel like that's such a crazy number, eating a pound of greens. But, if you are eating raw and you are trying to eat majority raw, I think it's a great place to start, but it just seems so wild for most people because they're typically only eating a handful of greens like a day. And I love what you said too about how you tried mono mealing, but you noticed you were getting bloated, so you do more of like a fruit salad type of thing with different
Yeah.
types of fruits. And this is brilliant because really we need to take a bio individual approach to our diet. We're all a unique petri dish. So what works for our raw friend next door doesn't necessarily work for us. We have to be willing to have some experimentation and try different things. And like you, I love my midday salad because I can't do sweet, sweet, sweet all day. Like, I
Mm.
need that salt and savory in the middle of the day myself as well.
Yeah, and it's a nice balance actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I first started, it was yeah, the idea of having like 1 whole pound of greens. It was like what crazy? How do you do that?
Yeah.
And and actually, I did that also because I saw one of the other ebooks in the bundle. Well, he's not in the bundle this time, but I don't know whether you know Matt Bennett from Raw Intuition. Yeah, so he came up with the Salad Mastery ebook, and he talked about the 5 pillars, and he talked about having 1 pound of greens, and then later I realized that, oh, okay, Dr. Doug Graham talks about that, and I think some of the other plant-based doctors also speak about that. But he did tell me, he said you'll get used to it, and it's true actually. After a while, I started to get used to it, and then sometimes I actually crave more greens. So, even
Yeah.
like dinner, I feel like, oh, okay, I'll have a bit more greens as well during my dinner, So I have my greens for breakfast, lunch, and dinner as
That's
well.
it. That's how you make it happen. That's how you get in a pound of greens a day. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
actually, in the bundle, I don't know whether you've checked out the ebook Tales from the Tailgate by Lisa and Nate Maris. And that ebook actually has 100 over recipes, and that has a lot of salad recipes. We have salad dressing recipes. So I've been trying out a lot of their dressings, and those are really good because the dressings are large enough to cover like a big, huge, giant salad. So and there's so much variety, and it's so interesting. And Lisa of Raw Food Romance. She uses a lot of spices. Her flavors are very strong and robust, so it's very good for my palate as well, because I find like Asian flavor profile, the at least where I live in Malaysia, you know, our taste buds, we like really strong flavors. Whereas when I go like, you know, the US or Europe, I find the flavors are a bit more mild compared to what we have here home. So I like however, for Lisa, she has like really nice strong robust flavors. So I really like the dressings from Tales from the Tailgate ebook in the bundle.
Yeah, so many recipe books in the bundle, so many raw recipes in the bundle. I mean, what an amazing resource. So for someone who struggles with staying consistent with like eating raw and or even high raw and doing that kind of planning, like how can they create a flexible meal plan that matches their taste, their preference, their lifestyle? How have you kind of advised folks, or maybe how have you done it for yourself?
Yeah, I usually don't. So I see myself more as a chef, so I create the food, but I don't usually talk about, you know, meal plans or how to do this. I'm just like, okay, if you ask me how do you turn this specific dish into raw, then I can
Yeah.
tell you. But if you're telling me like, oh, how do you stay consistent? Because for me, I think well, I guess personally, at one point, I did kind of struggle a bit with that because at that time I still liked cooked food a lot, but then I always feel very tired and very sluggish, you know, whenever I have some cooked food. So whereas the raw food, you know, I feel so energized and yeah, it feels so good on my body. I don't have constipation whenever I have raw food, but I do feel a bit constipated when I cook. So now I actually look at the cooked food and go like, oh, no thanks. But previously, I think a couple of years ago, I'll be like, oh, I want to eat that too, you know.
Yeah.
So I think I remember talking to someone about that, and he was going like, oh, maybe you need to feel and remind yourself like how you feel so good after you eat raw. But I also feel like um, I don't I okay. I just feel like if you put too much pressure on yourself, then it's going to be very hard. I think what I do is I basically eat. I'm high raw. Uh, at home, I usually just eat all raw. Then when I'm traveling, I eat some cooked food. When I am eating out with friends, I eat some cooked food. But when I'm traveling, what I try to do is I try and make my breakfast will usually be raw, so it'll be like fruit and some lettuce or something like that. And then I try and keep my dinner raw as well. So, and then you know for lunch I eat a bit of cooked food. So I feel like in that way I can maintain a bit of balance.
Yeah.
Or what I do a lot of times, well, at least over here in Malaysia, I actually like chop up my lettuce and put it in a container and bring it to the restaurant with me where I'm like meeting my friends. So I order a dish, a cooked dish, but I also make sure that I have my own salad with me. Um,
Interesting.
so far, I haven't had most of the time I haven't had a problem with the restaurants doing that. In fact, I mean, I am Raw Chef Yin, so people like a lot of people know me already, so they're quite cool with it. You know, but there was twice I think there was once I was told like, oh, you can't bring that in here, you know, and I said, yeah, well, I would order something else, but you don't have anything else that's raw vegan on your menu. You only have a smoothie. Then she's like, okay. And then another one, yeah, the boss was just like not happy with me at all, you know, and he was like, I hope your salad's like, I hope there's no meat in your salad. I said, no, I'm vegan. There's no meat in here, you know. And I was at a table of nine people, right? But he was like, but everywhere else it's been fine. In fact, there's one restaurant that I bring my salad to, and they'll be like, oh, would you like a bowl to put your salad in? And I said, no, 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 I'm fine. I can just eat from there. And then I'll have another, I think, and there was another place, the restaurant owner came out, she said, wow, you brought your own salad. That's really good. You know?
That's a brilliant
So,
idea. I have never thought to do something like that, to actually bring a salad to a restaurant. But that makes sense because even like here in America, most restaurants, they're not using organic greens. And, people like myself were concerned about that, eating greens that are sprayed with a whole bunch of glyphosate and all these pesticides and things like that, it's disruptive to the, intestinal lining, and can be really dangerous. So that, I like that idea, actually. I might try that one day.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I was in the US last year, and oh, so I visited Kathy Hester. She's also in the vegan health bundle. She has a pizza class in it. So when we went out, I brought my salads around. Because I think she got me like those 1 pound of mixed greens kind of thing, and I brought my salads in my containers, and everybody else was eating cooked, and I will eat a little bit of cooked because there was four of us, right? It was Kathy, Cheryl, her wife, and then my boyfriend, and then me. So there'll always be like four of us at the table. So three of them will be eating their cooked food, and then I'll eat. I'll nibble a bit at the cooked food as well. But I'll bring my salad, and I had never had any problems at any of the restaurants in the US that she brought me to either. So yeah, maybe because I think if they'd ask you, you can always just tell them, like you can. I mean, some people would just kind of say like, I'm doing this because the doctors have been advising me. I am having some health problems. That's why I'm eating this way. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It's crazy that we have to come up with stories to eat healthy because the environment is just so unhealthy. Like, I remember yesterday I had to explain to someone, because people always see me with this Mountain Valley water, and this guy asked me, what's the difference between that water and a regular water from 7-Eleven? And it was like at 8 o'clock at night, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I know.
I was like looking at him for like 2 long minutes in my head, trying to figure out, do I even have the energy to explain right now? Which then I did unload everything. Hopefully he picked all of it up. But yeah, it's an interesting situation, It's interesting.
I know,
But when you're determined to be healthy and to be consistent, I mean, this is what you're willing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I know people who like travel. So they order a salad at a restaurant, but they bring their own salad dressing with
Yeah.
them. So I know a lot of people do that.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. People traveling with their own sauces and stuff like this. I always bring my water because, the water they serve is tap, which is unhealthy. So thank you
Yes.
so much. Yeah. Raw Chef
Yeah.
Yin, this has been amazing. I loved everything that you mentioned. I think these are really great tips for folks because no one would have thought to do a lot of the stuff that you mentioned. And so now we all feel more confident, a little bit braver, right? To go out there and say yes to social engagements, bring food to the restaurant if you have to, and just take care of yourself. And now you have all these resources in the bundle, all your raw recipes, along with all the other creators that you mentioned. If you love this conversation and want more inspiration, don't forget to grab the exclusive vegan health bundle and pick up Raw Chef Yin's Korean barbecue party online course. Okay, make sure you dive into it, try the recipes, let us know in the comments below how they came out for you and how you enjoyed them. And Raw Chef Yin, how can folks find you outside of the bundle and connect with you on the interwebs?
I'm very active on Instagram, so I'm Raw Chef Yin on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook as well, also Raw Chef Yin. And sometimes I put up some videos on YouTube if you guys want to follow me there as well on YouTube. Yeah, so
Nice.
on those three platforms.
Great. And I'm pretty sure those links are also in the bundle. Once you download her course, there's a PDF with all the information on how to access the course. Plus the link for the bundle and information about Raw Chef Yin is in the description to this video as well. So remember, all of you guys, healthy eating doesn't have to be boring. You heard it straight from Raw Chef Yin herself. She's going to the market, finding new things, creating new things, being inspired. And apparently she takes requests. So you can reach out to her if you're looking for how to make things raw. And make sure you download the bundle. Try these things, like experiment in the kitchen, because you'll never know if you like something unless you actually try it and experiment. Okay? So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.